Most people mistake emptiness for sadness. But psychology reveals it is not a lack of happiness. It is the alarm signal of an abandoned self. It looks like laughing at the right moments at work, yet feeling completely hollow the second you sit alone in your car. Keep erasing yourself to survive expectations, and you will permanently lose who you are. Today we will decode the 4 hidden reasons you feel empty and how to escape. Tell me, what United States city or state are you resting in tonight? Wherever you are, I hope this feels like a warm embrace. Feeling empty does not always look like sadness. Sometimes it looks like waking up, checking your phone, going to work, answering messages, laughing at the right moments, and still feeling as though something inside you has gone quiet. You may have people around you. You may have responsibilities and plans. Yet beneath all of it, there is a strange absence you cannot explain. That emptiness can be frightening because it makes you question yourself. You wonder whether you are ungrateful or whether something is wrong with you. You may tell yourself that other people have it worse, so you should stop feeling this way. But emotions do not disappear because you judge them. They usually become quieter, deeper, and harder to name. There are 4 reasons why you may feel empty, and the first is that you have slowly lost contact with your core self. Imagine a chameleon changing color to survive. At work, it becomes calm, efficient, and agreeable. Around family, it becomes responsible and dependable. In a relationship, it becomes whatever is least likely to cause conflict. With friends, it becomes funny and easygoing. The changes happen so often that eventually the chameleon looks into a mirror and cannot remember its original color. Many people live this way for years without realizing it. You learn what version of yourself receives approval. You notice which opinions make people uncomfortable, which emotions are considered too much, and which needs cause others to pull away. So you adapt. You become useful, pleasant, low maintenance, strong. At first, this feels like maturity. It feels like being considerate. But over time, the boundary between compassion and self-erasure begins to disappear. You spend so much energy reading the room that you stop reading yourself. You become skilled at knowing what everyone else wants, yet unable to answer a simple question: what do I want? This is sometimes described as the dissolution of personal boundaries. It happens when your identity becomes organized around other people's expectations. Your inner voice is not gone, but it has been ignored for so long that it no longer feels familiar. The emptiness you feel may not be the absence of a self, it may be the alarm signal of a self that has been abandoned. And this is why distractions rarely fix it. A new relationship may give you temporary excitement. A promotion may give you validation. Shopping, scrolling, food, entertainment, or constant busyness may fill the silence for a few hours. But when everything becomes quiet, the emptiness returns, because the real problem is not that your life lacks activity. It is that your life may no longer feel like it belongs to you. The way back begins with intentional solitude. This does not mean isolating yourself or disappearing from your responsibilities. It means creating a protected space where nobody needs anything from you. No phone, no television, no music filling every second, no performance. Just enough silence for your own thoughts to become audible again. At first, this silence may feel uncomfortable. You may feel restless, guilty, or afraid. That discomfort is not proof that solitude is harmful. It may simply reveal how unfamiliar you have become with your own presence. Sit with simple questions. What have I been pretending not to know? What do I believe when nobody is watching? Which parts of my life feel chosen, and which parts feel inherited? What makes me feel more alive, not merely more approved? You do not need perfect answers. You are rebuilding a relationship, and relationships take time. Every honest answer, even a painful one, brings you one step closer to your original color. The second reason you may feel empty is that you are hungry for intimacy, even though you are surrounded by people. This is one of the most painful forms of loneliness because it is almost invisible. You can have coworkers who speak to you every day, relatives who know your schedule, friends who react to your posts, and hundreds of people connected to you online. Yet when your mind collapses at 2 in the morning, you cannot think of one person you feel safe enough to call. It is like dying of thirst in the middle of the ocean. There is water everywhere, but none of it can sustain you. The human mind is not nourished by contact alone. Social interaction and psychological intimacy are not the same thing. You can talk all day and reveal nothing. You can share jokes, updates, opinions, and photographs while hiding the parts of you that feel ashamed, frightened, confused, exhausted, or broken. When you believe that love depends on appearing strong, easy, successful, or emotionally controlled, every relationship becomes a performance. People may care about you, but you never fully feel their care, because they are responding to the version of you that you allowed them to see. That creates a cruel contradiction. You may be loved and still feel unknown. You may be loved and still feel unknown. You may hear people say, "I'm here for you," while a voice inside whispers, they would leave if they knew the whole truth. Emptiness grows in the distance between who you are and who you believe you must be in order to remain accepted. The solution is not to collect more people. It is to move from width to depth. You do not need a larger social circle. You need one or two relationships where honesty is safer than performance. Relationships where you are allowed to say, "I am not doing well," without immediately apologizing, minimizing, or turning your pain into a joke. This requires vulnerability, and vulnerability always contains risk. You cannot know with complete certainty how another person will respond, but intimacy cannot grow without allowing yourself to be seen. Begin carefully. Choose someone who has demonstrated consistency, empathy, and respect for your boundaries. Share one truth that you usually keep hidden. Not everything at once, just enough to open a real door. You might say, "I have been feeling more alone than I let people see." Or, "I am tired of always being the strong one." Or simply, "I do not need advice right now. I just need someone to listen." The right person will not always have the perfect words. They may not be able to solve anything, but they will make room for your truth without making you regret sharing it. And when someone offers you that kind of space, try not to reject it, because receiving care feels unfamiliar. You are not a burden for needing comfort. You are not weak because you want to be understood. Human beings are not designed to survive emotional pain entirely alone. Sometimes healing begins when one person sees the part of you that you have been hiding and does not walk away. The third reason you may feel empty is that the past is still occupying the emotional space where your present life is trying to grow. Imagine moving into a new room. You want to fill it with new furniture, new colors, and objects that represent the person you are becoming. But in the center of the room stands an enormous broken statue. It once meant everything to you. Now it is cracked and covered in dust, but it is so large that there is no space for anything else. You walk around it every day. You tell yourself that you have moved on because you no longer stare at it. But your entire life is still arranged around its presence. This is what unresolved grief can feel like. Grief does not only come from death. It can come from the end of a relationship, the loss of a career, a betrayal, a friendship that disappeared, a dream that never happened, or a version of yourself that no longer exists. Perhaps you spent years believing you would grow old with someone, and now that future is gone. Perhaps your identity was built around being successful, needed, attractive, productive, or in control. Then something happened that took that identity away. The event may be over, but a part of you may still be living inside it. This can happen when your sense of self becomes deeply intertwined with a person, a role, or an achievement. You do not simply lose the relationship or the job. You lose the answer to the question, "Who am I?" People around you may expect you to recover quickly. They may encourage you to stay positive, meet someone new, find another opportunity, or focus on the future. Their intentions may be good, but healing cannot be rushed by replacing what was lost. Pain that is not processed does not vanish. It often becomes numbness. You may stop crying and assume that you are healed. But sometimes you stopped crying because your mind became exhausted from feeling the same pain without a safe place to release it. The grief sinks beneath the surface. It appears as detachment, irritability, chronic fatigue, loss of interest, or the strange sense that life is happening behind a thick pane of glass. You are present, but you do not feel fully alive. The emptiness is not evidence that you are incapable of happiness. It may be the space left behind by something you never allowed yourself to mourn completely. Healing begins by admitting that the loss mattered. You do not have to pretend that it was insignificant just because other people survived something worse. You do not have to hate the person who left in order to let them go. You do not have to erase the past to stop allowing it to define you. Grieving means looking honestly at what you lost. Not only the person, position, or opportunity, but also the future you imagined around it. The conversations that will never happen. The apology you may never receive. The life you thought you would have by now. Some losses need to be named before they can be released. Write down what ended. Write down what it gave you, what it cost you, and what you are still carrying. Allow yourself to feel anger without becoming cruel, sadness without calling yourself weak, and regret without turning it into lifelong punishment. Then begin separating your identity from what happened. You are not the person who was abandoned. You are a person who experienced abandonment. You are not the failure. You are a person who lived through something that failed. You are not the job you lost, the marriage that ended, the mistake you made, or the dream that did not survive. These experiences shaped you, but they do not own the rest of your story. Forgiveness may become part of this process, but forgiveness does not mean pretending that no harm occurred. Sometimes forgiveness means deciding that the past has taken enough from you. It means releasing yourself from the responsibility of endlessly rewriting an ending that has already happened. The broken statue may always be part of your history, but it does not need to remain in the center of the room. You can honor what was real, grieve what was lost, and still make space for something new. The fourth reason you may feel empty is that you are experiencing existential exhaustion. You are moving, working, surviving, and solving one problem after another, but you no longer know what all of that effort is leading toward. Imagine a hamster running inside a wheel. It is moving quickly. Its heart is working hard. Its body is becoming tired. From the outside, it looks active and disciplined. But no matter how fast it runs, it remains in the same place. Many lives begin to feel this way. You wake up because the alarm tells you to. You work because bills have to be paid. You complete responsibilities because people depend on you. You wait for the weekend, then spend the weekend recovering enough to begin again. Months pass. Years pass. You become increasingly efficient at maintaining a life that no longer gives you a reason to feel alive. This is not always ordinary tiredness. It can be the exhaustion of living without a North Star. Psychiatrist Viktor Frankl described something called the existential vacuum, an inner emptiness that appears when a person cannot find meaning in their life. Human beings do not only need comfort, success, or pleasure. We also need to feel that our existence is connected to something worth moving toward. When that sense of meaning disappears, even a comfortable life can feel unbearable. You may have food, shelter, entertainment, and people around you, yet still wake up asking, "Is this all there is?" Society often gives us a ready-made script. Study, find work, earn more, buy more, become impressive. Keep going, but it rarely asks whether the destination is truly yours. You may have spent years chasing goals that looked meaningful from the outside. Perhaps you wanted a certain job because it made your family proud. Perhaps you wanted a relationship because being single made you feel behind. Perhaps you wanted money because you believed financial success would finally make you feel secure, respected, or enough. Then you achieved some of those things and discovered that accomplishment cannot answer a question it was never designed to answer. What is my life for? Without a personal answer, existence becomes mechanical. You are not necessarily in immediate crisis. You may simply feel chronically bored, disconnected, and emotionally flat. Nothing seems terrible enough to explain your sadness, yet nothing feels meaningful enough to awaken your hope. You begin to believe you need a dramatic new purpose. A perfect career. A great mission, a life-changing passion that appears like lightning and tells you exactly what to do. But meaning rarely arrives that way. It is often found in small sources of light. It may begin with learning something you once believed you were too old to learn. It may begin with taking care of your body, not because you hate it, but because you want to remain present for your life. It may begin with creating something imperfect, helping one person, planting something, writing something honest, or becoming the kind of support you once needed and never received. Meaning does not have to make you famous. It does not need to impress anyone. It only needs to connect your effort to a value that feels deeply true. Ask yourself, what kind of pain am I willing to help reduce? Ask, what leaves me tired but still fulfilled? Ask, what would matter to me even if nobody applauded? Your answers may be quiet. Do not dismiss them because they are small. A meaningful life is not always built through one extraordinary decision. It is often built through ordinary choices repeated with intention. Calling someone who is lonely, learning a skill that expands your world, making something beautiful, protecting someone vulnerable, telling the truth, becoming more patient, refusing to pass your unhealed pain to the next generation. The movement from emptiness to meaning begins when you shift from simply asking, "What can life give me?" to also asking, "What can move through me into the world?" This does not mean sacrificing yourself again. It does not mean becoming useful to everyone while abandoning your own needs. Real contribution grows from connection, not self-erasure. You care for yourself so that what you give comes from fullness rather than fear. And perhaps this is the deeper message behind all four reasons. You may feel empty because you have been living too far from yourself, because your relationships contain contact but not enough truth, because the past is still occupying the center of your emotional life, or because your days are full of movement but disconnected from meaning. None of these things makes you broken. Emptiness is not always an enemy. Sometimes it is a messenger. It is the quiet part of you refusing to accept a life built entirely around survival, performance, suppression, and repetition. It is asking you to return. Return to your own voice. Return to relationships where you can be honest. Return to the grief that still needs compassion. Return to the small purpose that makes tomorrow feel worth meeting. You do not have to rebuild your entire life tonight. Choose one honest step. Spend 10 minutes without distraction, and listen to yourself. Tell one trusted person what you have been hiding. Name the loss you are still carrying. Begin one small act that gives your day meaning. Healing may not feel dramatic at first. It may feel like a little more space in your chest. One genuine conversation. One morning when you do not immediately dread being awake. One moment when you recognize yourself again. That is how the emptiness begins to change. Not because something outside you finally completes you, but because you stop abandoning the parts of yourself that have been waiting to come home. If any of these 4 reasons felt familiar, share your story in the comments. You do not need to explain everything. Even one honest sentence may help another person realize they are not alone. And if you want more quiet conversations about healing, self-worth, and the parts of life we rarely say out loud, subscribe and stay with us. You deserve more than a life you merely endure. You deserve a life you can feel yourself living.